Rich and not Rick.
Right, Rich.
I guess you've been
Rich like four, right?
Okay, yeah.
Rich like four.
So we are very happy to have you here. He's going to talk about what's on the tag. I think that we have some workshop going on there, like trying to guess what's on the tag and see how we play this game. Rich has been cultivating orchids for several decades, as I understand, in Fort Lauderdale. In Fort Lauderdale.
Yes, Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, so he is a University of Florida Master Gardener volunteer. He's there. And he's an active partner in the Fairchild Tropical Botanical Garden, also in the Brilliant Orchid Project. So it's
right across
there.
the street is their nursery, the research greenhouse, right? That's
And he's also a former president of the Fort Lauderdale Orchid Society.
Right.
Floss, right? The Floss.
Yeah, Floss, right.
Yeah. So he brought some native orchids to offer. So at the end of the meeting, you can also talk to him and see the beauties that he brought. And well, so I think that you now have the talk, and then we will have the silent auction and the raffle. So we have a full program tonight.
Full program, absolutely, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Hi everybody. Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be here. It's a lot of fun. As I was driving down here, it's looking more and more familiar because I go to the research greenhouses that are like right around the corner from here at Fairchild. I collect seed pods in Broward County and I bring them down to Fairchild, and they propagate native orchids with Broward genetics and keep them separate in their greenhouses over here. So I come down about 4 times a year and pick up plants and do like restoration projects and things up in Broward County. They want to keep the DNA separate. But that's native orchids, and this is not a native orchid talk. Today we're talking about what's on the tag. Does everybody have a baggie and a set of tags? Anybody need one? Margaret, you need one, right?
She does.
One more here. Anybody else? One more, two. There's one more going back. Anybody? So you need some more? You need one too? Absolutely. So just take them out of the bag and kind of spread them out and just take a look at them. You guys are all orchid growers, right? Does anybody here not grow orchids? Everybody grows orchids. So just take a look. Maybe you'll see one of your plants. Does anybody see a match? Special prize if you see a match.
Yeah.
Josh, that's all. Okay. You grow that one? You do grow that one? Okay, so you get a free plant. Come up to the afterwards. I'll give you a little 10 pencils. Now I'm in trouble, right?
I have a key lime stars. Do we need to show you proof?
No.
I have proof.
It's okay. Okay, we're going to stop there. Usually I do a birthday thing, and there's only one birthday. I can say I always find a different birthday. But anyway, so let's go on here. So yeah, I do all these things. I do a lot with the extension office, and I'm on the board of the Orchid Society now. So I have a lot going on. But it's fun, so that's what I do. So this talk actually started out years ago at the Orchid Society at Floss. We have a group called the Kikis, and there are new members, and we have special programs for them to introduce them to orchids. So we have we'll do a special weekend. It's once a month. We'll do a little potting session, a mounting session, an intro to natives. And this is sort of an introduction. It originally was an introduction to nomenclature for beginners. So it starts off really low level, and as it sort of evolved over the years, I've added sort of different cases that I find. When I see a really interesting tag, I'll add it to the talk. So there's some interesting stuff in here. So we'll see that. And the long-term goal is, so that you can be better buyers. Like, if you understand what you're looking at, you can always ask the vendor, and you can always ask AI now. Like, how many people are using AI, like ChatGPT or something like that? Anybody doing that? Like 3 or 4 or 5 of you?
Yeah.
Anybody using it every day? More. 1 or 2? Okay. Yeah. It's pretty incredible, and I'm sort of rethinking this talk in light of the tools that we have now, because you can take, and I'm not like a I'm a computer guy, but you can take a picture of a tag and feed it into Claude or ChatGPT and get the entire, everything you need. And I actually have like a template that I use that I've taught my AI that this is what I want to know about certain plants. And so if I ask it about a plant, it gives me all of the information that I want. So it still helps to know what you're looking at, but the tools are pretty amazing, and I would encourage you to learn them because they're great. So anyway, hopefully you'll be a better buyer. Okay, now, here we go. Somebody's phone is ringing. So we're going to do a pre-test now. So take a look at these, take a look at your tags. Oh, I started too early. Okay, hold on. So you're going to look at your tags, you're going to try to find a species, you try to find a cultivar, find a Grex, find a genus, and find something that's gotten a award, okay? So just look at, and there's no grading or anything, so this is going to be on the honor system, but just take a look at your tags and try to see if you can figure this stuff out. If you know what it is, the word mean, great. If you don't, we'll learn.
Cultivar.
These are my favorite tags, actually. I like just plain old dead. And cheaper than therapy would too, but yeah, Carol thought this was really funny. I like it a lot. So anyway, here we go. So it's the structure of plant name. So this is just the real basic stuff. So when you're looking at a plant name, you're looking at a binomial system. People remember binomial. What does binomial mean? Remember algebra, high school? Binomial. Two terms, right? So the naming system has two terms. The genus is the first one, and in orchids, there's like, when I made the slide, there were 763 genera. There's probably more now because they keep on finding new orchids. Species, 28,000. When I made this slide, I usually talk about somewhere around 30, 31. Jason, I went to a talk where Jason Downing was talking a couple months ago. He said 40,000 species now. And he's like a, wow, orchid botanist, so I kind of believe that, but it's wow. And I have a Google feed. I get orchid news every day from Google, and like articles and stuff. And there's on a weekly basis, there are new plants being discovered, new species being discovered pretty much every week. So it's not a surprise, there's a lot of them. But so there's two terms. Yeah, the first term is the genus, or a generic name. That's another way that the botanists call it. And the second is the species epithet, or the specific epithet. And together, that's the complete name. You can't just say the genus name, and you can't just say the specific epithet either, because the specific epithet, there can be a lot of them. There can be a lot of Walkeriae or Hungarianus or something in different genera. So you need both to make the full name. That's the important point. So an example of just a full name is Cattleya labiata. And so Cattleya is a genus, right? So it's a big genus. How many grow Cattleyas? Let's see. Everybody, almost everybody, right? So we all cats. And labiata is the specific epithet, right? So the two things together make up the full name. That was on the slide, and I saw it, and I said, oh, I just read a book about that plant. So I always like recommending books. One of my careers was an academic librarian. So The Lost Orchid is a new book, Harvard University Press printed last year. It's a really great story. It's sort of like England, 1800s, all the people that were doing orchid stuff. And it's written by a literature professor, so it has elements of the arts, and definitely not like a male hero worshiping kind of thing that is sort of the mythology of the orchid hunters. So it's a really, really good book. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, it's historical reading. It's a very good book. So species. So let's drill down a little bit more on species. So species is like, basic unit of classification. So when you talk about a species, you're talking about a collection of plants that can interbreed, right? They're genetically very, very, very similar. Morphology is the same. So morphology just refers to like the physical appearance. So the size of the leaves and the size of the flowers and the size of the lip. So if you say the morphology is similar, it means that just that the plants are physically the same or close. Species tend to be found in what's called reproductive isolation, so there are pockets of them. If you look at a map of South America and the Cattleya species, there's little clumps of different species all over South America. And within those clumps, they're propagating, they're reproducing, if the jungle hasn't all been cut down, but they won't be interbreeding too much with other species. Genetic compatibility. And ecological niche is really important too, because orchids have evolved to coexist with their mostly insect pollinators. And the biggest reason that we have so many cool flowers is that the plants have evolved to attract a specific pollinator. And that was what Darwin wrote about. Darwin's second book was about orchids. His first book was the theory, and he got criticized because it was kind of mushy and there wasn't a lot of data. And his second book that he published soon after his evolution book was all about orchids and explaining the co-relationship between the pollinators and the orchids. So the names should be written in italics. So your newsletter editor, I'm sure, knows this, and I hope you all do. So species is always italicized. So on tags, the vendors don't really do that very often. And I don't know, I think the printers may not have an italic font or something like that, like the devices they use to print the labels. But if you're writing in a newsletter, writing an article or something like that, they should always be italicized. And that's one of the ways that you know that it's a species. And the other way is that the genus is capitalized, but the specific epithet is in lowercase. So it's uppercase, lowercase. So when you see that, if you see that on one of your tags, you know that's a species. Okay, so what does it mean to be a species? Well, all that stuff we talked about. It also can mean it be a little bit trickier to grow because it's coming from a specific region, and you kind of need to learn what the region is and what kind of things the plant wants. So from a collecting point of view and from a purchasing point of view, some people love to have species, and there are many people that collect nothing but species, but other people prefer something that may be a little bit easier to grow, and that a hybrid might be the case there. So, and these are just some pretty common plants you see around. So then we look at, so we have the specific epithet, the second part of the name. Now we look at the genus, the first part of the name. So that's a little bit broader category. You can have a lot of different species inside a genus. So a Cattleya, I don't remember how many there are, like 50 different species of Cattleyas or something like that in the genus. And they're similar, as it says, they're similar anatomy, similar genetics, similar evolutionary history, but they're not identical. The morphology is different, they could be different pollinators, color forms are different, all kinds of differences like that. And there is a lot of DNA work now. Up until 50 years ago probably, a lot of the classification was based on morphology. And the old pre-Linnaeus systems were very much based on morphology. But now it's DNA. Has anybody been in the propagation lab at Fairchild and seen their DNA analyzer? You should all go. It's like, it's in their little science fair over where the butterflies are and stuff. And Jason has like this DNA analyzer that's like the size of your coffee machine over there. It's unbelievable. They're just like a little desktop thing. And they do amazing work, just insane work with DNA analysis. So that's a really important thing. So these are just some common genera just to get used to the names. And I bet you all grow these things, brassavolas. Everybody grows brassavola. Cattleya, dendrobiums, encyclias, vandas. So these are all, this is the genus, the different genera, and you can see that there's lots and lots of different species of all of these things. Anybody know the flowers? Anybody want to take a guess at the flowers?
Nodosa,
What do you got?
Top right, nodosa.
Nodosa, right? How about this one? Anybody know this one? Dendrobium fruminatum, the thunderstorm orchid that blooms like 7 days after it rains. That's a fun one. And then I don't know what the other ones are, so you have to guess. Okay, so a couple of books. I like recommending books, so here's my book recommendation. There's a really fantastic book, Orchid Names and Their Meaning. And this is available, it's only available used, it's not in print anymore. 3 years, I always look to see if it's available, and there are a couple of copies around that are about $100. 3 years ago I was giving this talk, and the only one that was available was in Germany. It was $500. So if you can look for it, and if you ever get a good price on it, it's really worth it. It has like every term in it, so it's really good. And then the other book that's sort of fun is, if you're really hardcore, it's just a book on orchid nomenclature. So if you want to understand what the rules are, this is the book for you. So this is what you're going to see. You see these words. The reason it's here is you're going to see these words on orchid tags. So you've got the genus, the plant. Somebody finds a plant, right? Some botanist or some orchid hunter somewhere finds the plant, and it belongs to a genus, so they can sort of categorize it so it gets stuck into the genus. But then they can use a different word for a specific epithet for the species name. And a lot of times it's Greek, some Latin that describe the plant. So when you see things like maculata means spotted, right? So if you like spotted flowers and you see a plant that's called maculata, hey, there you go. Spotted plants are really cool. I love spotted plants. Whenever I see something that has maculata on it, I'm like a sucker and I buy it, So pendula is like pendulous, prostrata, creeping. So you can kind of figure out from the specific epithet some characteristic that the naming person thought was important. And there's a lot of them. A lot of the colors you'll see, the albas and the flavas. If you like yellow, look for flava, mosaic, Aquarius. And then there's a couple of other tricks that you can use, like if you see ensis on the end of a name, it's a place name. So ensis as a suffix means the plant came from this region, the species came from this region. So I would say Encyclia tampensis, our Florida native encyclia, right? One of them. Came from Tampa, that's where it was first found. And so it's tampensis. Guatemalensis from Guatemala. There's a lot of these, and so that will give you a clue as to where it's from, what kind of environment it might grow in, how you could grow it, and how it could do well. A lot of them have historical references. So the I on the end, like hooker eye, skinner eye. Sometimes it's a single eye, sometimes it's two eyes, or Iana, like Walkeriana. And these are all like these are all British guys that were in that book, The Lost Orchid. So if you read The Lost Orchid, you know who all these people are. And they were all important, they all did amazing things. But that's sort of like, again, looking at the tag, you can sort of get a feeling for when was this named. It was named after one of these guys. It's a species that's been around for a long time. So kind of fun. And then varieties. So this is sort of the first variation on the theme. You can have, in botanical terms, what they call a variety. And that's defined in the book on orchid nomenclature. Yes?
Would you go back and do the colors? You didn't mention the
Oh,
colors.
the colors, yeah. Okay, so alba, is white, but it's not always white. Like I have Encyclia tampensis albas back here, and a regular ET has like green and brown veins in the petals and sepals, and it has a purple splash on the lip. And the alba form has a white lip and clear petals and sepals, but it's sort of a creamy color, so it's not really white. But alba generally means clear or white. So if you like that, if you like white, go for the albas. Azure, it's blue, right? We have azure sky, so that gets you the blues. Exiguous, there's a lot of different forms of that. There's red, scarlet, lava yellow, I said that one. Rosea is sort of a rosy color, right? And then purpureus, and there's a bunch of purpurata, which probably monkeys. So yeah. you can be looking at a little seedling, and it's going to give you a clue about what color the flowers are going to be, what form they're going to be, so you can glean some information like that. Okay? Yeah, if you have questions as we're going along, please do feel free to ask, because we're just going to go, and if you have a question, ask it. So varieties. So varieties are just a sort of a way of categorizing differences within a species. And some people use a form, like sometimes you'll see forma, F-R-M-A, or F-O-R-M. And according to the Bible of orchid naming, you're not supposed to do that. That's from the horticultural naming book. There's a big, huge green, they call it the green book, for horticultural names that are not orchid names. We're supposed to use variety. And it just means like oftentimes it's like a little bit of a different color form. And I think the vendors like to have varieties because they can sell it as a different plant. Is anybody a vendor here? So am I going to offend anybody? No. How about any AOS judges? A few AOS judges here. Okay, I'll be careful.
Students.
Okay. So anyway, so when you see and here's a semi-alba. So what would a semi-alba be? Right? Anybody what's a guess on a semi-alba? It's like. Yeah, exactly. I mean, so there for the Tempensis, there's like two different forms that you could call semi-alba, either regular petals and sepals and a nose splash in the lip, or the other way around, right? So, yeah.
So, Rich, variety refers to changes in coloration, or can you also change in form or shape?
I think it can also be form and shape. I mean, this is like literally the definition from the book. So that's the official definition of what it is. So I think that color is more often than not the distinguishing characteristic, but it could be something like spotting, or it could be like veins that are a different color or something like that. But I think the overall morphology is going to be pretty much the same, but it's going to be like variations in the color, variations in the flower. Okay.
So the cerulean is a combination of colors?
Cerulean? Well, I mean, it depends on the plant, but I mean, cerulean is usually just a blue, some kind of blue form. Oh, yeah, it's just blue form. So I mean, that would be back on this list. I mean, there's tons of these. I only picked out a few, and this book is full of them. I mean, there are tons and tons and tons of words that people use to describe colors. And the more you know, like the better a buyer you can be, because you can get the plants that you like and the colors that you like. Okay, so here's just a few tags to kind of look at, to kind of just reinforce the learning. So Prothecia fragrans, right? We all know Prothecia cochleata, the clamshell, that's a Florida native. But this is just fragrans. And what would you think fragrance is? It's like fragrance, right? So it's good. If you like a nose, like I have a terrible sense of smell, so fragrance doesn't really float my boat. But if you love things that are fragrant, that's a great one to look for. Prothecia fragrans. The odds are it smells pretty good, right? Encyclia bractescens with many bracts. This is a beautiful plant. I don't know, does anybody grow Encyclia bractescens? No? Oh, if you ever see one, you should get it. It's like my favorite Encyclia. And I love all Encyclias, but that's my favorite. It's really beautiful. And then Epidendrum radicans. So this is an interesting one. People grow radicans, right? The stem. Yeah. Yes, the reed stem.
We have some on the table.
Oh, you have some on. Oh, yeah, you got a ton of them on the table, right? And right, so usually epidendrums are usually epiphytes, right? They're usually growing up in the trees. And here we have radicans, and radicans Latin for rooting on the ground. Okay, so the name is giving you the cultural clue, if you interpret it right, Okay, so species occur in nature. The names have two parts, the genus, and the generic epithet, and the specific epithet. Genus is capitalized, specific epithet is lowercase, Okay, so here's your pop quiz now. So go and look for a species in your tag set. Okay, she's got hers. Okay, so yeah. You got yours? Everybody got them? Species are pretty easy, right? And they're still looking back there. They're still looking there. Okay, how did everybody do? Somebody from this table, tell us the species that you got.
Phalaenopsis utriculodes.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one. That's a Florida native, actually. How about you guys?
Novelty and Stamburgia rose.
Ah, good ones. How about here?
My Sobralia again.
What is it?
Sobralia and dry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow, I killed that. That's amazing. I don't remember that one. Most of them I remember with a little pang in my heart, you know. But that one I don't even remember. I must have killed it really quickly, you know. How about here at this table? Chuck, you got one? What do you got?
Bratonia sanguinea.
What is it?
Bratonia sanguinea.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's a good one. Yeah. Okay, cool. So you guys got it. So then we go to hybrids. So this is like the great divide in orchid land, right? It's like species and hybrids. So you can be a species grower and specialize in species, or you can broaden your palette and go out to hybrids. And there's, I don't know the number, maybe you guys know the number, 150,000 hybrids or something like that. Just very, very, very large number. And they're registered at Royal Horticultural Society, and I think I have a slide about how to look them up in a little bit. But basically, you know, hybrid is just like taking two different plants and taking pollen from one and putting it on the stigmatic surface of another. That's how it works with orchids. And then you get a hybrid. So you get a plant. You may get a plant. I mean, they're not all going to work, but you may get a plant that is attractive. So it's just making the cross between plants. That's really what it is. And when they talk about it like this, they usually say that the first one is the pod parent. So that's the plant that the seed pod is going to grow on. And plant two, so the second one in the name, is a pollen parent. That's the dad. And so the pollinator usually is taking the pollen from the pollen parent and from plant two and putting it on plant one. That's sort of generally how it works. Together, all of the seedlings of that are called a grex. Okay, so if you have a specific cross, all of the progeny, all of the seedlings of that cross are called a grex. So every plant of that combination is all related in a way that they're all called a grex. And hybrid names are written in plain English, although this is a bad example for plain English. Cattleya facilis, Castrate Smith, and Cattleya claudibec. So those are English words. They're not Latin words, but they're not. It's often like Melody Fair or Sunny Times or something like that. Mark Jones and Deborah Person. So that's the basic of what a hybrid is. Primary hybrid is when both of the parent plants are the same genus. Okay, so this is one of my favorites. Cattleya sebris. I have some of those. They're really beautiful blues. It's old plant from when blue was really cool, like in the 80s and 90s. Anybody have sebris? Anybody have that one? Yeah. It's really pretty, isn't it? It's a great plant. And so the parents are two species, right? We can tell it's the species because it's uppercase and lowercase, right? In uppercase and lowercase. So it's Warneri and Cattleya walkeriana. So those are both species. So if you have a species and a species, it's called a primary hybrid. Okay? And that's like the first level of hybridization. And you can get like many generations down where you get very, very complex hybrids which we'll see, where you're combining hybrids of hybrids and hybrids, but this is the basic. And a lot of people that find species challenging can grow these really easily because they're just more flexible. They have what they call hybrid vigor. They're a little bit more accommodating. Sometimes they can get multiple blooms out of hybrids because if you bloom something from the spring and something that blooms in the fall and make that cross, you can get confused orchids that bloom twice a year, So that's the goal. But that can be one of a breeder's goals. And this is a great little example. So then you can get these like complex ones. So complex hybrids, so you've got simple hybrids and you've got complex hybrids. And so the complex ones, you can have a species and a hybrid, or you can have a hybrid and a hybrid. Okay? Those are both complex hybrids. This is from Fred Clark, sure, like a lot of you know Fred Clark, and a lot of you have his plants. He's a great grower and a great breeder. And this was from an article in Orchids that he published, like, I don't know, 4 years ago or something. But it really shows like how complex hybrids work. So he's got the name of this, the two pairs are up here, right? So you've got Catherine Clarkson and Cosmic Angle. And we know those are hybrids because they start, they're English words, they're not Latin, they're English words, and they're capitalized. So the species part is capitalized, so that means it's a hybrid. So you've got a hybrid here, cross on a hybrid here, and it gives you something that's registered as Cosmic Future. So that's Cattleya Cosmic Future. Okay? So they're all Cattleas, so this is all Cattleas, and this is all Cattleas, and the combination is still a Cattleya. These are the parents, and then these are the children. Okay? So this shows you the diversity that you get when you make, this is complex breeding, when you combine complex hybrids, you get crazy stuff. Okay? All kinds of crazy stuff. And then it's like, so Fred does this, you know, and he makes these crosses, and then he'll bloom out, you know, 100, 200 of them, 300 of them, or something like that, and then pick the ones that he likes and work with that, and like basically get rid of the rest. I don't know him. I mean, I know some growers will throw them away. I don't know if he does, if he sells them, or if he throws them away. But you'll just the amount of variation is phenomenal, and we'll see in a second what you can do with that. But anyway, so does anybody have any questions about that? Does everybody understand this example? It's a really nice example of like what you get. Good. So that naming conventions for hybrids. So on this one, these are all Cattleyas, right? So it's a Cattleya, the Cattleya, the Cattleya. And on this one, it was Cattleya, Cattleya. So the end result, Cattleya seabreeze, is a Cattleya because both of the primary parents, both of the parents are Cattleyas. So what happens if it's not the same species? And that's what we're getting into here. So now we're combining two different genera. And this is Richard Mueller. We're combining Brassavolas and Cattleyas. So we get what's called a nothogenous, and you take part of the first one and part of the second one, so you make a Brassocatleya, is a nothogenous. So on your little quiz, the nothogenous is something that's a sort of a man-made genus. It's not a genus that they have in nature. And these are often abbreviated, BLC. This is where you get your BLCs and your LCs and your, all of the stuff that you usually see on the tags. And if you do searches, there are a couple of PDFs of lists of these floating around on the web. And you can, there's just, I don't even know how many there are. There's pages, pages, and pages, and pages in tiny, tiny little print of nothogenous that people have made. So that's where that comes from. Fear proof. Then there's something called natural hybrids. So, we talked about species as growing out in nature in little pockets, little specific geographic areas, and you can imagine that at the overlap areas where one species and another species overlaps, that if you've got one species of Cattleya, another species of Cattleya, there might be some pollination that can happen across that. And when that happens, that's called a natural hybrid. And there is a proper way to indicate that on a tag, and but it's hardly ever, you never see it. Okay, this is one of the lessons actually, is that quite often you can find incorrect tags. So you shouldn't really trust a tag, you should really sort of like double check, trust to verify. But so, this is actually the proper form. So they have the genus, and that is lowercase x, and then tiny tenses. So, that is the hybrid name. And the x means it's a primary hybrid. Tiny tenses is planifolia and odorata, two different species of vanilla, so it's a primary hybrid. This one, Cattleya Brabantiae, is Acclaimii and Odorgesiae. And again, this should be lowercase b, so that tag is not right. But that's a natural hybrid, so that's something that happens out in nature. And you would refer to that. You would talk about this caveat of the context. And then Encyclia canadensis, right? So we know that. What do we know? Where does this one come from?
Cuba.
Camagüey, Cuba, right. Camagüey, the third largest city in Cuba. So this is Encyclia from there. And the tag says it's a natural hybrid, so they should have put a little X in there, but no, they didn't.
And the X identifies that it's a primary hybrid?
Yeah, natural hybrids are like always a primary hybrid because they're species out of the wild that are pollinated, getting pollinated. So that you would always think, I mean, yeah, they would always be a primary. Yeah.
I think maybe what you guys said, so is X to denote that it's a natural hybrid as opposed to a primary?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah. The X is the signal that says it's a natural hybrid. So it's a hybrid that happens in nature. Right. Right. Yep. And like I said, most of the time they don't put it on the tag, so it's sort of annoying, but that's the way it's supposed to be. Okay, so this is where you can find, I was saying, I thought I would get here. So this is the RHS, the Royal Horticultural Society. It's associated with Kew Gardens. And this is one of the places you can go. It's not the only place you can go, but it's one of the places you can go. If you're trying to do research on a plant and you don't know what it is, and we'll see some situations where this can happen. You may have the parents and not know what the name of the hybrid is, or you may have a hybrid and trying to figure out what the parents are. But you can go there if you just do a search for RHS Orchid Register or the International Orchid Register, whatever, you can find this. And yeah, like 150,000 hybrids. This is the official registry for orchid hybrid names. So if you're looking to see if something has been registered, like you have a cross that you bought from somebody, you have a hybrid you bought from somebody, it hadn't bloomed yet, it hasn't been named yet, and you want to see if it's been bloomed, and if it's been named, you can go here and take a look and see if it's been registered. And that sort of brings up who gets to choose the name, right? So the rule, again, the rule is defined in here, is that you've got two people have to agree on the name. You have the originator, is the word they use. The originator is the hybridizer or the grower that grew the plant. And then the registrant is the first person that blooms it is considered the registrant. And the registrant is usually allowed to suggest a name to the originator, but you both have to sign the form when you send it in to RHS. So you have to follow the rules, but you also have to have agreement with the hybridizer, with the grower. So that's kind of fun. And there's rules you can't like name, you can't like do slanderous things and, my stupid wife, Cattleya, my stupid wife, or something like that. It's against the rules, I mean, my wife is very smart. I would never do something like that. I love her dearly. But you can't do that. You can't get revenge. Yeah.
We've got over here tonight one time that's called Love Your Baby.
Love your baby? Yeah, that's sort of marginal, but I guess that was okay. This is a positive vibe, Yeah, love your baby. I love it. Yeah. You do see funny things like that. I saw one the other day that was something like red hot, 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 or something, And I'm like, what, But it's probably red, So there's a clue there, right? So anyway, so RHS, this is a great place you should know about. Orchid roots, so this one, this is like, if you know the parents and you're trying to find out the name, this is the place to go, because that's where that is registered. If you have a hybrid name and you want to try to find the parentage though, this is like a better site to go to, orchidroots.com, because you can put in the hybrid name and you get the entire tree. At the RHS, they just show you the parents. They show you one generation back, and this shows you like all of the generations. So, and they'll even give you like a little makeup. It'll say 12% Dowiana, 16% Labiata, 52% whatever. So if you're starting from a hybrid name, this is the tool to use. Now, if you want to understand what the plant is, what the consists of. Okay? And here's just sort of some similar stuff, plants LI. So BC, what's a BC?
Brassicalia.
Brassicalia, right, okay, CTNA,
Catatonia.
Catatonia, right, Jingyan,
Dendrobium.
Dendrobium, right, okay. Anybody grow these plants?
Yes.
Yeah? Yeah. These, I love the, well, why not show it, but this is, anybody grow Nestor?
Well, when you say grow, I just bought one.
You bought one, okay.
That's not
Is it still alive?
It's still alive.
Then you get credit for growing it, right. Yeah, you're good, you're a grower. She's got a Dendrobium Nestor that's alive. So I love Nestor. One of the parents of Nestor is, oh, now I'm going to draw a blank on it, but it smells just like a raspberry. What is the?
I know smell.
It's a Dendrobium. It smells just like. I mean, you close your eyes and smell it. It's like a. Anyway, whatever.
Super Nestor, right? Super Nestor.
What is it?
So we have Dendrobium Super Nestor.
Yeah.
It smells like strawberry.
Yeah. It's not. Right. Yeah, they're really great plants, though. If you ever see a Nestor, just browse it. You'll be happy. Okay, so here's the summary. So hybrid orchid, combination of different species and or hybrids. Hybrid name has the genus or not the genus, and the Grex are both capitalized. LC puppy love. That's a great plant. That's a classic old plant. So that's the rundown of the hybrid. So now you get to find a hybrid. Just a simple hybrid tag. We're going to get fancy in a minute, but just a simple hybrid tag. So go for it.
Why does the Catalia always come second in the hand?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Like Laelia Catalia, right? Catalia comes second.
Right.
Brassicaria, BC,
That's
Brassicaria, Catalia.
Right.
I thought it was alphabetical, but it doesn't follow the alphabet
so.
from the Laelia.
Oh, no, so there's rules, yeah, there are definitely rules for that, and that's like a level of detail I don't know. But there are rules for combining 2, and rules for combining 3, and rules for combining
But
4.
you
Yeah, there's rules for all that stuff. It's not alphabetical. It's not alphabetical. Okay. So hybrids, everybody found a hybrid? Yeah? Anybody have one they want to share? No? There you go. Right, okay, cool. Okay, so cultivars now. So what's a cultivar? So I used to think that, so cultivars are plants of exception. Is everybody good with the hybrid thing? We're good? Okay. So then we get into cultivars. And cultivars are sort of the next level, next stage up in quality. And it's another name that's going to be on the tag. And you can tell it's a cultivar name because it's going to be in single quote marks. Okay? So you're going to look for a tag. It can be a species or it can be a hybrid. But it's going to have another word on it, and the word's going to be in single quotes. And there's a couple of examples here, like Brassil Mendoza Mendenhall and DC Richard Mueller Mickey's. Okay? And these are plants of exceptional quality. I used to think it meant that that it won an award and that you had to get an award to be able to name it, but that's not the case. It's really just the grower has decided to identify this plant for a particular reason. And you just stick a cultivar name on it. It is legitimate. It's like a legitimate use. Now, why would you do that? So I'll give you an example. I have a friend who gave me about 40 feet of vanilla. And it was a kind of rare vanilla. It was a vanilla that she had collected in northwest Broward County from the wild in the early 80s. So it's very unique genetically. And like I said, she gave me a 40-foot section. And her name was Mona. So I cut that up. I gave a whole bunch of them to the Master Gardener class. I teach orchids there, and everybody got vanilla that year, you know? And it was Vanilla Papona Mona. And I wanted to know, so I gave it a cultivar named Mona, because I wanted in my collection, I had random pieces around, you know, and I wanted to know that it was that one, okay, that it was hers, because that's genetically different than the one that's on the black olive tree in my front yard that has a virus. And I want to know the difference, you know? So I named it Mona. And so I mean, you can do that with your own plants. If you have a plant that's really, really nice and you take a bunch of divisions of it, you can put a cultivar name on it, and then that will remind you that all of those divisions are the same plant, they're genetically identical. And that's the key thing with cultivars, is that they're genetically identical, they're all the same. So that's it, that's what cultivars are. So it doesn't have to be an award, it just has to be a special plant that you want to know if the grower wants to keep separate for some reason, whatever reason. Here's a few examples. So Maxillary Bend Berliner, and that's growing on a fence on our front yard. I don't know. Yeah, it's there. It's not in your, it's still alive. But it's a yellow, it's beautiful yellow hybrid Maxillaria. Here's a Maxillary tentacola. So this is a hybrid with a cultivar name. And this is the species with a cultivar name, okay? And Yamada, I guess, was a yellow. Yamada's a yellow that came out of the jungle. It's a mutant. It's what I heard. And whereas this one is hybrid, but it makes yellow. So, yeah, cultivars are anyway, so it's cultivar names. Okay, so now we get to find the cultivar. Everybody should have a cultivar. Take a look. See what you can find. Everybody good? Still looking? Still looking? Hope everybody else is looking.
This bag is
It's what?
Isn't that a little money for there?
Beautiful. Yeah. Okay. Everybody found that okay? Yes? She has a question? No? You're good? Yeah, okay. Okay, so then we'll look at award names. So this is something else that you'll find on labels, tags. And you see a lot of AOS awards. Thank you, gentlemen, for your service. The judges do hard work to award plants that are brought in for judging. And there's a whole bunch of different awards that they give out. I'm not an AOS judge. I don't know their awards, but I know that when I see AOS on something, it's a good plant. So that's really the important thing, is it's going to be a good plant. If it's AOS anything, it's going to be a good plant, right? Is there any AOS thing that I should be aware of that's... What's the best one? FCC? FCC, this one here, 90 points. So that's the one you want. That's the one they really want to look for.
Some people even brag saying the number after FCC 99.
Oh, FCC. Oh, there you go. Right. Yeah. Big bucks though,
It's
right?
the same, actually. It's the same.
Oh, okay.
FCC is FCC.
Okay. So those are all nice awards. Those are all good awards. SAOC you see every once in a while from South America awards. RHS is England, of course. And this is actually a nice one if you are a fan of fragrant orchids. Something to know is that the AOS does not give points for fragrance, right? This is a true statement. Thank you. So there's a rubric, and after the plants are judged against this rubric, and so you get 5 points for this, and 10 points for that, and 10 points for this, and 20 points for that. But in the AOS system, there's no points for fragrance. In the Japanese system, they give 5 points for fragrance. So if you're a breeder, you want to breed to keep the fragrance. You want to encourage the plants to be fragrant. You want to, propagate the plants that are particularly fragrant. So if you see an AJOS on a tag, and you like fragrant orchids, that might be one that you could be interested in, because somebody got points for fragrance, and so that could be a clue that it's going to smell great. Now this takes a little while to go through. How am I doing for time? I'm doing okay, I guess. So this was really interesting, and it's sort of not really a tag thing, but it's, this was on the cover, or like the back cover of Orchids magazine or something like that a while ago, and I saw it, and I just looked at it and said, there's a story here. And I haven't talked to them about it. Like the next time I'm up there, I'm going to talk to them about it. But this is the chronology that I figured out from this ad. Like this is a plant. This is the first release, right? So this is the first release of the plant. It was this advertisement was in 2023. So if you look up in the RHS, when was this cross made? It was made in 1994. So that's almost 30 years. 29 years difference between being up for sale and making the cross and registering the cross. Then, so 10 years, so he registered it, this is the first bloom, 1998. Okay? 10 years later, won a gold medal at the 19th World Orchid Conference, right? The biggest event in the world for orchids, right? And it won the gold medal. It's the best orchid at the World Orchid Conference, right? They still didn't sell it, right? They've got this plant. They've had it now for, that's 20 years old. They're still not selling it. And then, so they tissue culture it, they marathon it. In 2023, it takes a long time to get that to happen. 25 years after it made it cross, they released it for sale.
What is the name of the?
I'm sorry, the question I didn't
What's
get.
the name of the orchid?
The name of the orchid.
Simon
Okay,
Smith.
so it's RLC, Drew Simon Smith, and you have a cultivar's name of Cole Seppi. And it's got an AMAOS, so it's got an award of merit from the American Orchid Society, and a GM on something WOC. It's a gold medal from the 19th World Orchid Conference. So this is 19 WOC. So this is, and GM is gold medal. So this was a gold medal at the 19th World Orchid Conference. So, and then we're charging $75. Now, how many would they make? Like 5,000? Do you have any idea? Like 5,000 something, They would make a lot of this plant. The mariponic is really easy to make thousands and thousands and thousands of plants. But anyway, I thought it was a good story. It's not really a tax story, but it shows you the long game that the growers are involved with. And all of these orchids that we're buying are made and manufactured and produced by people like this. And it's just to give you some background and sort of share with you what they go through, how they do it. Okay, so now remember this? Okay, this is from the beginning. So now you get to do it again. So find one of each of those in your tags, and then we'll move on. Okay, so hopefully you'll do better than the first one. It gets really interesting, and this is where this is sort of more advanced breeding concepts and hybridizing concepts, and this is what the high-end growers do. And you see this stuff on tags fairly often. So selfing. Anybody have an idea of selfing? Selfing is taking pollen from a plant and putting it onto the stigmatic surface of the same plant, right? So you have one orchid and you want to make babies from it. So you do selfing. So it's here, it's the Orchid selfing, Medalliana, Aurea selfing, Leleanceps selfing. So these are all growers that had a really, really nice plant, and they wanted to make babies, they wanted to have seedlings, so they made pollen that way. So that's an obvious play if the grower has one plant and they want a lot of them. If they don't have two, they just want one, they'll do a selfing. But there's another cool reason that people do selfing. So if you self a plant, if you're not sure that a plant is a species, you can, if you self that plant, if it's a species, the plants will all come out true. Okay? If it's a hybrid, then a self will reveal the fact that it's a hybrid. Remember that chart where there's all these wacko colors? Okay, so if you take a plant and you self it, and you get that much variation, you know that it may be labeled as a species, and it may look like a species, but it's not a species. So that's another reason why growers will occasionally do selfing. It's just to check on the quality of the species. Okay, line breeding. So somebody's referred once to dogs. You know how they do line breeding in German Shepherds. They want the best German Shepherd or the best Boxer or the best Chow or whatever. And they do the same thing with plants. So you're taking really high quality, two different really high quality plants of the same species, and you're just trying to make a better one. So, we know that if you have cultivar names on it, they're plants of distinction. Form flavus is yellow, right? And so here we have two dendrobiums, both of very special form, both high quality plants. So they're crossing, and they're just trying to make the ultimate version of this. Okay, that's the goal, and that's line breeding. Here's another one here. This is H&R. We have Lawrenciana, doing a cross on Lawrenciana, same idea. So that's line breeding. You'll see that a lot. Sib crosses. So this is, you can see it says sib here and sib here. So sib stands for sibling. Siblings are plants that have the same parents. So again, going back to that Fred Clark picture, the parents were up on the top. I may have a picture of that here. Yeah. So this is a sib cross. And this is exactly what you have. So you have parents right here, and these are all siblings. Okay, so these are all sibs. These are siblings. Now let's say you're Fred Clark, and you want something kind of splashy with no dots. He might take this and cross them, and think that he's going to get like a really beautiful yellow with a nice pink splash everywhere or something. And I'm not a hybridizer. He would never do that cross, but the point is, like, that would be a sib cross. Okay, so he's going to be looking at these flowers and seeing something like in this one and this one, and saying, oh, if I combine those, I know that this is a recessive gene and this is a dominant gene and this one's going to come through, and that's a sib cross. Okay, so that's what sib crosses are all about. Tetraploids. So tetraploid refers to a doubling of the genetics of the genes in a plant. Normally, and I'm not a botanist, I'm not a DNA scientist, but normally orchids have somewhere like in the 20s, 22, 20, 22, 24 genes. And just like us, they're in pairs. Occasionally, in nature, you get a mutation where they're doubled, the chromosome counts are doubled, and that's called tetraploidy. And there are desirable characteristics for plants that are tetraploids. So one is that they tend to be sturdier plants, they're hardier. They tend to grow a little bit slower, but they're stronger plants. The flowers tend to last a little bit longer. So they have very desirable characteristics. And another thing about them is that you can make crosses with tetraploids, and the progeny of the cross is very, very consistent. And H&R, Roy Takanaga is the one that really figured that out. And so their whole program is based on tetraploids. And he used to talk at the symposium, the Cattleya Symposium up in Fort Pierce. And he would told stories. I had lunch with him one day. He told stories about this, about like he knew about tetraploids and that they were runts. And he would go into his friends that were growers and buy like all the runts, because he knew if there were any tetraploids, they would be in the runt section. So he'd get a great deal on like a whole bunch of seedlings from some grower down the island, and he would have get tetraploids out of it, and that's why they really built H&R, was doing that. So when you see a 4N, it's really just it's a good orchid. It's actually against the rules, like according to the rule book, you're not supposed to put 4Ns on tags, but people do it anyway. So if you see that, it's a good thing. Unnamed hybrids, we've sort of talked to this before, and a lot of growers will sell, they'll sell orchids that's a hybrid before the plant has flowered and before the cross has been named. So you have to flower. Remember we said you have to flower it before you can name it. So if you see a tag like this, or a tag like this, where there's two different names on it, it's probably a seedling, a cross that was made. It was sold before it bloomed. So you may want to know what it is, and this is the case where you want to use the RHS register, the orchid registry, because you can go in and you can put in, honey and put in Persevaliana, and it'll tell you what the name is of this. It'll give you the hybrid name, so you'll have the modern name, the updated name. Okay. So this one, number 1, is not registered, so that's the Mickey's. It's a Fort Lauderdale dealer, and then Carter Holmes registered this one. Unnamed hybrids, so this is just an example of how you can do that. If you go into the search and you put in the two different plants here, it will give you the name. So that tag, if you do a search on it, you come up with that trade names you don't really see very often. Every once in a while, it'll sneak through when they're propagating, see this on phalaenopsis sometimes because they bring phalaenopsis into the country with trade names instead of like registering them so that they keep the heritage secret. If you're growing millions of plants, you don't want your competitors to know what they are. And they usually have uppercase like this. This is really the trade name here. It's pretty unusual to see that, but every once in a while you will. And this is just sort of like almost the end. So I did this one year during COVID, and I sent out tags to everybody. I sent out collections of tags, and I asked for questions. And so somebody sent back to me an email that said, okay, so here's the tag, and these were her questions. Okay, so she had 3 questions. So I'm going to ask you guys, okay? So number 1, first question. The parents are Cattleya iricolor Marisa and Cattleya iricolor Mage. Is that correct? Anybody? What do you think? Is that right? What do you think? You don't know. Okay. And anybody else? Oh, you're breaking my heart. Yeah.
Is the cultivar for that second one, Madge, is that additional or is it just?
Yeah, Madge was a grower up in Central Florida, I think. And Maria said, but those are just cultivar names. Yeah, so this is a cross. So this is a Cattleya iricolor crossed on another Cattleya iricolor and 2 different cultivars. So the answer to that question is yes. It's not a trick question. She was just like legitimately saying, are these the parents? And yeah, those are the parents. Okay, so now here's the trick question. So she asked, it's not my question, I would never do something as devious. Why doesn't this orchid have its own name? Hasn't been registered, okay, wrong. Okay, anybody else want to try?
It hasn't bloomed yet?
Hasn't bloomed yet? Nope.
No?
What?
It's a species.
It's a species,
Why are
and
you gonna register species?
right, it has a name, right? It has a name. The name is Cattleya iricolor, right? It's a Cattleya iricolor crossed on a Cattleya iricolor. You cross a Cattleya iricolor on a Cattleya iricolor, it's a Cattleya iricolor. That's the name of the plant. When you do crosses, the cultivar names don't go down with the cross, right? You remember we said cultivar name? Every cultivar is genetically identical, right? We said that? I know I did. So you make a cross, you're going to have DNA from both parents. It's not going to be either one of the cultivars. So it does have a name.
If that plantera AOS, can you put a name after, like Pepito or whatever?
Oh, you could if you wanted to, sure. Yeah, you could give it a cultivar name. If it was a particularly nice one, you could give it a cultivar name of your own, yeah. And then she said, can you tell whether it's a clone or not? About that. Somebody's answering, but I can't hear it.
No, I'm saying that Diana was asking, it happens that sometimes some plants come with that and they make it.
Right.
The moment that they
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you think this is a mirror clone? No. Okay, good. Why not? It's a seedling, right? It's a cross. 2 different plants. Mirror clones are only made from one plant. So those are the questions. I think that's it. Oh, so here's one. Maybe one of the judges could do this for us. This is a fun one. Yeah, okay. One of you got, which one of you would like to tackle this one? So just walk us through it. What are the parts and what do they mean?
So that's Cattleya intermedia, which is a species
Right.
of a specific variety.
Right.
I don't know the name, but it's a type of Cerulean.
Yeah.
And
It's Equinii cerulean. So what does Equinii cerulean mean?
it's smaller, I guess.
Yeah, so, yeah, the cerulean is the color. Equinii was a Brazilian botanist who found a lot of splashes. And then,
And in Canada, this is a cultivar name.
right,
And we see that in the end, the recipe was called itself.
Right.
So good that they wanted to have children.
right, there you go. Perfect. Thank you very much. And that's it. So does anybody have any questions? I hope you